Hello and welcome to the channel. In news that is bound to send shock to majority of Nigerians, it has been revealed that since the beginning of the year, 2 months in, the federal government have borrowed a humongous sum of 2.13 trillion naira. Nigeria's total debt currently stood at 44.6 trillion naira. With just 2 months, we still get like 3 months remaining before Baba and his team of misfits go pack their bag. How much more them go borrow to add join the one way they ground? As in problem not they finish, now be this one way we did so. Subscribe, like, share, and comment. Thank you. Federal government borrows 2.13 trillion naira in 2 months. The federal government has borrowed about 2.13 trillion naira from the domestic capital market so far this year. Data obtained by the nation's economic intelligence yesterday showed that the government has stepped up its borrowings across all instruments as risk-averse investors crowded around sovereign debt issuances. The data indicated that the government overshot its borrowing calendar in most instances to mop up oversubscriptions to its offers. The data indicated that the government raised 2.129 trillion naira between January and February 2023 through regular bond issuance, the retail's savings bonds, and treasury bills. At this rate, the government may exceed its estimated domestic borrowings of 7.4 trillion naira for 2023. Faced with sovereign downgrades by global rating agencies with attendant higher risk profile and cost for international debt issuances, there were indications that the government might have narrowed down to the domestic capital market to raise 8.8 trillion naira regular debt component of the 2023's 10.78 trillion naira deficit. A breakdown showed that the government has raised 1.189 trillion naira this month, 26.4% above the 940.62 billion naira raised in January 2023. The total debt issuance in the past 2 months represents more than 50% increase on the total debt issuance in the fourth quarter of 2022, according to data tracked by the nation. In January 2023, the government raised 662.617 billion naira through its regular bond auction, 277.468 billion naira through the Nigerian Treasury Bills (NTBs), and 533.03 million naira through the Federal Government of Nigeria Savings Bonds (FGNSBs), a retail monthly debt issuance introduced in 2017. This month, the government raised 770.56 billion naira through bond auctions, 417.64 billion naira through NTBs, and 1.271 billion naira through the FGNSBs. Nigeria's total public debt stood at 44.6 trillion naira in the third quarter of 2022, stirring a long-running national debate on the growing size of indebtedness and the burden of sustainability amidst declining national revenue. The federal government laid out a budget size of 20.51 trillion naira on a total revenue of 9.73 trillion naira in 2023, with plans to borrow 10.78 trillion naira in 2023. Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning, Mrs. Zainab Ahmed, at the public presentation of the breakdown and highlights of the 2023 budget proposal, said the overall budget deficit of 10.78 trillion naira for 2023 would largely be financed through domestic loans. She outlined that the budget deficit will be financed mainly by borrowings including domestic sources, 7.4 trillion naira foreign sources, 1.76 trillion naira multilateral and bilateral loan drawdowns, 1.77 billion naira and expected 206.18 billion naira proceeds from the privatization of national assets. While experts agree that rising demand for sovereign debt provides the government with a comfortable fallback option, many analysts say the government's domestic mop-up may crowd out other issuers and raise the cost of funds. Subscribe, like, share, comment, and please turn the notification bell on. Thank you. The February 2023 issuances illustrated the crowded demand for sovereign debts. The transactional report for the February 2023 bond auction indicated that the bond auction received a total bid of 992.11 billion naira, about 176% above the government's offer size of 360 billion naira. The government had offered to raise 90 billion naira each across 4 tenors of bonds, but 3 of the 4 bonds were overwhelmingly oversubscribed, providing the government headroom to mop up more funds. The Debt Management Office (DMO), which oversees the issuance and management of Nigeria's sovereign debts, increased allotment across the 3 oversubscribed bonds while reducing allotment for the undersubscribed bond. The government allotted 257.41 billion naira to investors in the 10-year federal government February 2028 bond, as against a total subscription of 296.214 billion naira, 51.12 billion naira to the undersubscribed 10-year federal government April 2032 bond, which recorded a total subscription of 77.998 billion naira. 220.56 billion naira for the 20-year federal government April 2037 bond, as against total subscription of 296.619 billion naira, and 241.47 billion naira was allotted to the 30-year federal government April 2049 bond, which had the highest subscription of 321.274 billion naira. The marginal rates for the bonds were 13.99%, 14.90%, 15.90%, and 16% respectively. Analyst at Auto Steven Asset Management noted that the total subscription of 992.11 billion naira in February was higher than the 805.17 billion naira total subscription recorded in January 2023, an increase of 23.22%. That's the news, guys. Thanks for listening. Until next time, bye.